Back when I was working in real estate, we got a job from a property management company to handle a two-bedroom apartment near a train station. The rent was dirt cheap, only 24,000 yen a month. You probably already guessed why it was such a steal. It was an accident property, one of those places with a dark history. To get it ready for listing, I decided to take a junior colleague along to snap some photos of the place. That day, we swung by the property company to pick up the keys and got the lowdown on what had happened there. I won't bore you with the details, but let's just say it wasn't a happy story. Armed with that info, we headed to the apartment to start shooting. Normally, taking photos is a quick job, 5 to 10 minutes, tops, and you're done. But this time, we hit a weird snag. The pictures kept coming out with these strange, bubbly dots all over them. It was creepy, and we both started feeling uneasy as we clicked away. Things got worse when we moved to one of the bedrooms. To make the room look bigger, I told my junior to open the closet door. The second he slid it open, bone-chilling feeling hit me like a truck. Out of nowhere, this woman stepped out of the closet, slowly, deliberately. And get this, she was freakishly tall, over 2 meters, her head practically scraping the ceiling. Then this awful stench hit us like rotting fish. I froze, my heart pounding. My junior. He let out a scream, dropped to his knees, and looked like he was about to pass out. I was terrified, my vision blurring as the fear took over. The last thing I saw was that woman leaning down, staring right at my junior's face, letting out this eerie, cackling laugh that sent goosebumps racing across my skin. The sound was so haunting, it felt like it was pulling me into a vortex of pure dread. Next thing I knew, I blacked out. I came to when my phone started ringing. It was my boss calling because we'd been gone for 3 hours and hadn't checked in. I picked up, still shaken, and tried to explain what happened, but he wasn't buying it. After hanging up, I looked around and found my junior curled up inside the closet, out cold. I shook him awake, and when he came to, he was a mess. He told me he saw something completely different, a blood-soaked man holding a shovel, staring him down before he passed out. We were both in shock, barely able to process what we'd seen. Our stories didn't even match, which made it even more confusing and terrifying. We stumbled out of that apartment, barely coherent, and headed back to the office. I sent my junior home early to rest, figuring he needed it after that ordeal. The next day, he didn't show up for work. I tried calling him, no answer. Eventually, we got in touch with his family and found out he'd fled back to his hometown, too freaked out to even step outside his room. That apartment, yeah, it left a mark on me. I ended up switching from handling rentals to selling properties not long after. No way was I going through something like that again. When I first started working at a real estate company, I just moved to the big city from the countryside. I was broke, hadn't found a place to live, and didn't want to keep crashing at my cousin's tiny apartment forever. I practically strong-armed him into letting me stay, but I knew I couldn't mooch off him for long. Work was hectic, learning the ropes of buying, selling, and managing a few rentals, plus the company dabbled in investing in land and properties for profit. With no time to house hunt and barely any cash, I asked a senior colleague if he knew of any cheap places. My team leader overheard and chimed in, "You're literally working at a real estate company. Just pick something from our listings. We got a housing allowance, and if the rent's low enough, I'll talk to the boss about letting you use it as a company dorm." I was thrilled. I started flipping through our listings and found a not-too-old building with single-person units. It wasn't super close to the station, but the price was right. The company ended up letting me use it as a dorm, and I only had to pay a small management fee each month. Score. My cousin helped me move in, and by the time we got everything settled, it was evening. He ran to the convenience store to grab some food and beers to celebrate. While he was out, I heard a voice at the door greeting me. I opened it to find an old man, maybe in his 60s. We introduced ourselves, chatted a bit, and he went back to his apartment next door. That night, my cousin and I ate, drank, and had a good time, wrapping up the day on a high note. Life got busy after that. I was barely home, always working late, coming back just to shower and crash. Sometimes I'd hit the bed and pass out so fast it felt like I'd blink, and it was morning. Things went on like that for a while until one night, as I lay in bed, I heard this annoying buzzing sound, like flies zipping around my face. I got up, shooed them out, and noticed my trash can was full. Must be the garbage attracting them, I thought. But it was weird. I'd left trash out before and never had this problem. I brushed it off, cleaned out the bin the next day, and figured that'd fix it. It didn't. The flies kept coming more and more each day. I'd come home exhausted, and there they were, buzzing around, some even banging against the balcony screen trying to get in. It was driving me nuts. One day, while I was battling the flies, my mom called to say she'd sent me some stuff and to check my mailbox. I usually got my mail sent to my parents' place back home, so I only checked the apartment's mailbox for junk flyers every now and then. I went downstairs, cleared out the usual pile of ads and random receipts, and grabbed the package from home. As I was sorting through, I glanced at the old man's mailbox next door. It was stuffed with newspapers from a couple of days ago. I thought about it and realized I'd only seen the old guy twice since moving in. But I was always out early and back late, and I'd heard noises from his place at night, like the TV or something bumping the wall, so I didn't think much of it. A few days later, I got off work early and went out for food and drinks with my team leader and a senior colleague near my place. Casually, I mentioned my ongoing war with the flies. My senior laughed and said, "What, you got a dead rat in there or something?" My team leader's face got serious though. You know how the news is always talking about those lonely death cases lately? People passing away alone, not found for days? You don't think. That's when it hit me, the old man next door. I told him about the flies getting worse and how his mailbox was overflowing with old papers. My team leader frowned and said, "If someone's not picking up their mail, it's either they skipped town or something bad's happened. Since your neighbor lives alone, this doesn't sound good." They insisted on coming back with me to check things out. When we got to the building, my team leader took one look at the stuffed mailbox, flipped through it, and said, "Newspapers from days ago." If he'd run off, he'd have canceled the subscription, right? We went up to my floor, and sure enough, there were flies buzzing around hallway. My team leader rang the old man's doorbell. No answer. He tried a few more times, nothing. The three of us were getting more uneasy by the second. My team leader suggested we peek over from my balcony to see into his apartment. I leaned over and looked through his balcony window. My heart sank. The glass was covered with flies on the inside, crawling all over it. That's when my team leader called the police. Within 10 minutes, cops and paramedics showed up. They confirmed what we feared. The old man had passed away inside, a classic case of a lonely death. He'd been gone for a while, probably a couple of weeks. The police told us to stay in my apartment while they handled things or to find somewhere else to crash for the night. I was too creeped out to stay, so I begged my cousin to let me crash at his place again. I ended up staying there for a week before finding a new apartment. The thought of sleeping next to a dead guy, separated by just a wall, was too much. About 2 months later, a client came to our office wanting to sell the old man's apartment. My senior handled it and warned me. They cleaned it up a bit, but some stuff wouldn't come out. Brace yourself if you go look. That afternoon, my team leader and I went to check it out. Walking back into that building felt nostalgic but eerie. When we stepped into the apartment, we both froze. The walls and floor had these dark, stubborn stains, like someone had been sitting against the wall for a long time. I realized that wall was the one my bed was pressed against in my old place. I've been sleeping inches away from a decomposing body for who knows how long. Then it hit me harder. The police said the old man had been dead for over 2 weeks when they found him. But during that time, I'd heard noises at night, thumps against the wall, the TV going. What were those sounds? Was the old man still living there in some way after he was gone? Or was he trying to get my attention, hoping I noticed something was wrong and call for help? In a quiet town in upstate New York, there was a rental house managed by a local real estate company that dealt with all sorts of properties, including those with dark histories, accidents, tragedies, and the like. The stories about these houses never seemed to dry up. A colleague I met through work, Mr. Thompson, shared a chilling tale about one particular property that left a mark on him. The house, located on the outskirts of town, had an eerie reputation. Word around the neighborhood was that strange things happened to anyone who lived there. The real estate company's job was to get tenants to sign the lease and move in, no matter what. But no matter how hard they tried, tenants kept leaving after just 2 or 3 months. Their reasons for breaking the lease were always oddly vague yet mundane. One tenant wrote in their feedback, "No major problems, but this place isn't great for someone with a sensitive stomach like me." Another said, "Only people with rock-solid stamina should live here." Mr. Thompson, sifting through these bizarre excuses, couldn't help but scoff. What kind of nonsense is this? He thought, rubbing his temples. But the strangeness only piqued his curiosity about the house. So he pitched an idea to his company, let him stay there for 2 weeks to figure out what was going on and why tenants kept fleeing. To his surprise, the company agreed. He packed a simple mattress, some bedding, a table, and a chair and moved in. For the first week, nothing happened. Not a single odd occurrence. The house was actually quite comfortable, and Mr. Thompson began to suspect the tenants were just making excuses to get out of their leases. "This place is perfectly fine," he told himself, planning to return to his own apartment the following week. But that night, things took a strange turn. He'd gone out for drinks with some friends after work, and on his way back, he was hit with an urgent need to use the bathroom. His stomach was churning, like it was staging a full-on rebellion. He rushed back to the house, practically sprinting. Bursting through the front door, he made a beeline for the bathroom, only to find the door locked. He was on the verge of losing it, crossing his legs and crouching down, trying to hold it in. Frantically, he searched for the key, but then it dawned on him the company hadn't given him a bathroom key. In a panic, he stared at the lock, his heart pounding. Then he noticed it was one of those old coin-operated locks, the kind you'd see in a gas station restroom. Fumbling in his pocket, he found a quarter, twisted it in the slot, and the door clicked open. He rushed inside, finally relieving himself. As he sat there, catching his breath, a creeping realization hit him. Why was the bathroom door locked in the first place? It was one of those locks that could only be secured from the inside. He glanced at the door handle, his mind racing. If no one was in here, how could it be locked? A chill ran down his spine, goosebumps prickling his skin. He pulled up his pants and bolted out of the bathroom. The rest of his second week in that house was a nightmare. Several times he'd come home from work, desperate to use the bathroom, only to find the door locked from the inside again. Each time, he was in such a rush that it became a race against time. He started to understand those strange tenant comments about sensitive stomachs and stamina weren't random. They were about this. The house itself was fine, but if you were in a hurry and needed the bathroom, you were in for a world of trouble. After hearing Mr. Thompson's story, I couldn't shake the thought, whatever's in that bathroom, it's got to be doing it on purpose, right? Back when I was still working in real estate, I got tasked with selling a house that had a dark history. Someone had taken their own life there. You know how it is in Japan. After the bubble economy burst, a lot of homeowners couldn't keep up with their mortgages and, well, some of them ended it all. Houses like that, they're considered tainted spiritually, which makes them a tough sell. But when a client hands you a job, you've got to figure out a way to move it. So to sell this place, I set up an open house event. It's one of those deals where you open the house up for a few days and the real estate agent hangs out there, ready to show it off to anyone who walks in. It was August, hot as all get out, and I'd been there since morning, prepping everything. But the only people who showed up were nosy neighbors from the same apartment building, poking around out of curiosity. It was annoying as heck, to be honest. I was starting to get fed up when I heard a deep voice from the front door. "Hello, can I take a look at the place?" it said. I perked up, called out, "Come on in," and got up from my chair to open the frosted glass door between the living room and the entryway. As I walked toward it, I caught a glimpse of a shadow moving back and forth between the room next to the entrance and the bathroom across from it. I thought to myself, what's this guy doing, wandering around like that? But when I opened the door, there was nobody there. At the time, I didn't feel scared, just irritated. "Rude jerk," I muttered, thinking someone had slipped in and out without saying a word. I sat back down, and a little while later, I heard another voice, a low, gravelly one, say, "Hello." I called out, "Come in," and this time a guy in his 40s or 50s walked in. I put on my best enthusiastic real estate smile. "Hey there. Man, it's hot out, isn't it? You from this building? Thinking about buying?" I threw questions at him, but he didn't say a word. Nothing. He just strolled around the house, all calm and casual, like he owned the place. I followed him for about 10 minutes, watching him wander, thinking, great, another weirdo. I was just starting to wonder how to politely shoo him out when another voice came from the entrance. "Hello, can I come in and take a look?" I turned toward the door, called out, "Come on in," and when I glanced back, the guy was gone. Poof, vanished. I looked around, nothing. No trace of him. I thought, okay, I only looked away for like a second. How'd he pull that off? This guy's got some ninja skills or something. I wasn't scared, just baffled, thinking he was some kind of magical oddball. After that, I was so thrown off, I barely remember what I did next. My mind was all foggy, and before I knew it, I was back at my desk at the office. That day was such a blur with everything going on, I couldn't even piece together how I got back. I tried telling a senior colleague about what happened, but he just didn't get it. Honestly, I couldn't blame him. I was there, and even I wasn't sure what to make of it. So I let the whole magical man thing slide and moved on. I worked hard on that house, and eventually we found a buyer. The sale went through smoothly, and I thought that was the end of it. About 6 months later, though, the new owner showed up at the office, saying he wanted to sell. I overheard a colleague handling it and immediately thought, oh no, it's got to be because of that thing I saw. I asked my colleague what was up, and sure enough, the owner was dealing with some creepy stuff and couldn't handle living there anymore. When I'd sold him the house, I'd been upfront about the previous owner's suicide. He brushed it off, saying, I don't mind that kind of thing, it's fine. I thought he was pretty gutsy at the time. Later, when he came back to discuss selling, I asked him what was going on. He said he lived alone, but he kept hearing footsteps in the hallway. When he was washing his face in the bathroom, he'd hear someone muttering behind him, but when he'd turn around, no one was there. At night, weird noises would creep into his ears while he tried to sleep. At first, he told himself it was all in his head, but it happened so often he couldn't sleep anymore. He was done. Since he'd only owned the place for 6 months and still had a mortgage, selling it would mean taking a loss, probably leaving him with debt. After some discussion, we suggested renting it out instead, and he went with that. As he was moving out, he told me about one last thing. One time, after washing his face in the bathroom, he looked up in the mirror and, for a split second, saw a man in his 40s or 50s standing there. Then he was gone. Hearing that, it clicked. That's got to be the weird guy I saw, I thought. Maybe he was the previous owner who took his own life. Maybe he's still living in that house in his own way. This happened back when I was working in real estate in a quiet suburb of Columbus, Ohio. I was assigned a property that had been languishing on the market for a while, handed to me after a senior colleague quit the firm. I'd never visited the place myself, and my predecessor never said a word about it. So one day, I decided to dig into the listing details. Compared to the market prices in the area, considering the house's size and age, I was floored. It was priced absurdly low, like suspiciously cheap. The current owner had bought it as an investment years ago, but it rarely got rented out and was now sitting vacant. They were clearly selling at a loss. I skimmed through the sparse viewing records, which were sloppily written at best. Most mentioned typical buyer complaints, things like couldn't deal with certain issues. But one note stood out: be cautious when showing the second floor room facing the street. I stared at it, thinking, what on earth does that mean? My curiosity got the better of me, so I decided to visit the house that afternoon to check it out before planning how to sell it. After lunch, I followed the address to the house, tucked away in a quiet cul-de-sac. From the outside, it looked like your average, unremarkable suburban home. I glanced up at the second floor windows, wondering if that was the room the note referred to. Something felt off. The curtains were still up, despite the house being empty for months. Whatever, I thought, shrugging it off. Let's just go inside and see. I unlocked the front door and stepped in. The air was heavy with a musty odor, the kind you'd expect in a house that's been unoccupied for too long. Still, the first floor wasn't bad. The layout was practical, the space was generous, and the natural light was decent. I wandered around, inspecting the rooms, and started feeling optimistic about selling it. This place had potential. But then I climbed to the second floor, and everything changed. The second floor hallway was lined with closed doors on both sides, which already gave me an uneasy feeling. As I stood there, one room in particular felt wrong, like it was radiating a heavy, oppressive energy. I figured that had to be the one from the note. I started by opening the other doors, the ones that didn't make my skin crawl. Those rooms were fine, nothing unusual. Then I approached the door that was giving me bad vibes. As soon as I touched the handle, I felt a raw, malicious intent, like something on the other side wanted to harm me. My instincts screamed at me not to open it, but I'm a professional, right? I couldn't just back down. So, summoning my work ethic, I pushed through the fear and opened the door. The room was pitch black, unnaturally dark. I couldn't see a thing. I fumbled for my phone and switched on the flashlight. The walls, ceiling, floor, everything was painted jet black. Even the curtains were coated in black paint, blocking out all light. My heart pounded. No wonder it's so dark in here, I thought. I hurried to the window, yanked the curtains open to let some sunlight in, and turned around to get a better look at the room. That's when I nearly jumped out of my skin. The room wasn't black anymore. The walls and ceiling were standard white paint. The floor was ordinary hardwood. I stood there, dumbfounded, trying to process what I'd just seen. I glanced back at the curtains, half expecting them to be blacked out like before, but they were just regular curtains. Then, out of the corner of my eye, I saw it, a black human-shaped figure standing in a shadowy corner where the sunlight didn't reach. And it had these vivid, living eyes staring right at me. I gasped, my body freezing in fear, and bolted out of the room, slamming the door behind me. As I ran downstairs, I heard the door upstairs swing open with a bang, followed by angry footsteps charging toward the stairs. My heart felt like it would burst. I grabbed my things and sprinted out the front door, locking it behind me. I collapsed outside, gasping for air, my face slick with cold sweat. What the hell was that? I muttered, trying to make sense of it. How was I supposed to sell this place with something like that inside? After calming down a bit, I looked up at the second floor window. The curtains I'd opened were now closed again. That was the final straw. I got out of there as fast as I could. Later, I asked around the neighborhood, chatting with some talkative locals at a nearby diner. They told me the house used to belong to a friendly family, but things took a dark turn when they got involved with some strange cult. Neighbors started noticing odd people coming and going at night, and they'd hear disturbing noises from the second floor, like some creepy rituals were happening. It got so bad that the police were called multiple times. The family began clashing with the neighbors, and then tragedy struck. The family's sons died one after another in bizarre accidents. The wife lost her mind and disappeared one day, and the husband and daughter vanished overnight. The house was sold to the current owner after that. Hearing all this, I couldn't shake the thought that the black figure I saw was tied to those strange rituals. I was so shaken that I begged my boss to reassign the listing to someone braver. He eventually passed it to a senior colleague with more nerve than me. That house stayed on the market for ages, the price dropping lower and lower. Every time I drove by and saw those closed curtains on the second floor, I couldn't help but think, that place is never going to sell. My first day on the job at a real estate company was a wild one, let me tell you. I was fresh in the business, eager to learn the ropes, and the manager handed my senior colleague the keys to 3 houses, telling him to take me along to practice taking photos for listings. That afternoon, my senior drove us out to get the shots done. For the first 2 houses, he showed me the tricks of the trade, how to frame the shots, what angles made the rooms pop, that kind of thing. I was picking it up pretty quick, feeling good about myself. On the way to the 3rd house, he turned to me and said, "All right, rookie, this last one's all you. Show me what you've got." We pulled up to the place around 3 in the afternoon. As soon as we opened the door and stepped inside, something felt off. Compared to the first 2 houses, the air in this one was heavy, kind of damp and chilly, like the place had been sealed up too long. I shrugged it off, thinking, whatever, let's just get this done. We started snapping photos. Bathroom, kitchen, entryway, hallway. My senior checked my work as we went, and everything looked fine. No issues. Then we moved to one of the bedrooms. My senior walked over to the balcony, slid open the big glass door to let some light in, and told me to start with shots of the balcony. I got those done, and we checked the photos. Looked good, no problems. All that was left was the main part of the room, and we'd be out of there. We stood near the balcony, facing the room, aiming toward the closet on the opposite wall. I lined up the shot, focused, and hit the shutter. Suddenly, the camera went nuts, switching to burst mode and firing off a bunch of shots in a row. I blinked, confused, thinking, did I bump something when I was checking the earlier photos? I switched it back to normal mode, ready to try again. But no matter what I did, the camera wouldn't focus. It was like it was fighting me. My senior started looking uneasy, like he sensed something weird too. Right then, the balcony door slammed shut with this loud, forceful bang. We both jumped, totally caught off guard. We exchanged a quick glance, hearts pounding, and then we heard it, a knocking sound coming from inside the closet. That was it. We didn't even think twice. We bolted out of the room, ran through the house, and didn't stop until we were outside. My senior fumbled with the keys, locked the door, and we stood there, catching our breath. I looked at him and asked, "What the heck just happened?" He shook his head, still shaken, and said, "Some kind of freaky spiritual attack, maybe?" That door slamming like that. It felt angry, didn't it? We didn't dare go back inside, not even to lock the balcony door. We just hightailed it to the car. Once we were safely inside, my senior told me to check the photos I'd taken. I opened the camera, and my stomach dropped. All the shots we'd checked in the house, the ones that looked fine, were completely black. Every single one. The only photos that came out were the ones from that burst mode in the bedroom. But came out is generous because they were anything but normal. The first shot showed a shadowy figure of a woman standing by the closet. Since it was burst mode, the next few shots caught her moving closer, toward the camera, toward us, toward the balcony. My senior and I stared at the screen, cold sweat running down our backs, too freaked out to even speak. I finally managed to stammer, "What do we do?" "Go back and reshoot." My senior looked at me like I'd lost my mind. "You kidding me, rookie?" "No, our lives are worth more than this job. Delete those photos and let's get out of here." When we got back to the office, we told the manager what happened. He didn't say much, just nodded and asked another senior to go take photos the next day. That guy, he didn't even make it through the shoot. Came back to the office spooked out of his mind, saying he couldn't handle it either. After that, nobody wanted to touch that house. It wasn't worth sending a whole crew just to get some pictures, so the listing went up online without any interior shots. As for what happened in that house, I don't know the full story. I was a newbie back then, and that property was the manager's personal project. He got it rented out pretty quick, so I never got the details. But here's the thing about our manager, he was kind of a legend. Over the years I worked there, I noticed most of the listings he handled never had interior photos online. The problem properties, the ones with issues, he always took care of himself. Maybe he didn't trust us to deal with that kind of stuff. And the wildest part, his clients usually ended up happy, no complaints. So next time you're browsing online and see a listing with no interior photos, it might mean the agent's some kind of badass or that there's something seriously creepy going on inside that house. Back when I was working as a real estate agent, I got a commission from an older couple looking to sell their house so they could retire to the countryside. The place was in great shape, priced reasonably, and in a nice, quiet neighborhood. Basically a dream listing that I knew I could move with a bit of effort. I got to work, put the ad up, and within a week, I got a call from someone interested in checking it out. I set up a viewing for Sunday when the owners would be home. That Sunday, a middle-aged couple showed up with a kid who looked about elementary school age. The parents were all smiles, super polite, greeting me warmly. The boy stood behind them, grinning ear to ear, looking just as cheerful. I gave them a quick rundown of the house at the doorstep, then led them inside to take a look around. They walked through the place, smiling the whole time, nodding and saying things like, "Wow, this place is beautiful." But something fell off. They seemed to be rushing through, like they were just going through the motions, eager to get out of there. After the tour, they said hi to the owners and headed out. Right before they left, I noticed something weird. "Hey, where's your son?" I asked. The wife, still smiling, said, "Oh, we don't have a son. Just a daughter, but she's studying abroad. It'll just be the two of us living here if we buy." I froze, not quite processing what she meant at first. Then it hit me, and I just nodded, brushing it off with a quick, "My bad." After they left, I couldn't shake how bizarre that was. I went back inside to update the owners on the market and how the viewing went. Curiosity got the better of me, so I tested the waters. Those 3 who came by today, I said, "I bet they take good care of this place if they buy." The owner looked confused. 3? It was just a couple, wasn't it? My stomach dropped. So I was the only one who saw the kid. I laughed it off, saying, "Oops, my mistake. I meant they're planning to live here as a family." But inside, I was freaking out. I couldn't stop thinking about that boy. But nothing else weird happened after that, so I let it slide. My colleagues and I brought a few more groups to see the house over the next few weeks. Then one day, after showing the place to another client, I was chatting with the owners about how the sale was going. The husband interrupted me, looking uneasy, and said, "This house, it's been acting strange lately." I asked what he meant. Then he started spilling about some creepy stuff that had been happening. One night, he and his wife were sleeping upstairs when they heard someone running around downstairs. At first, they thought it was a burglar, so they checked, but the noise stopped. All the doors and windows were locked, and nothing was missing. After that, they kept hearing the same running sounds at night, always downstairs. But the night before, things got worse. The noises started downstairs like usual, then they heard footsteps racing up the stairs to the second floor. The sound stopped right outside their bedroom door. They were terrified but knew they had to check it out. The husband crept to the door, ready to open it, when the footsteps suddenly bolted back toward the stairs, followed by a loud thud, like someone tumbling down to the first floor. They rushed out, checked the whole house. Nothing. No sign of anyone. The husband sighed, saying, "We've lived here for decades, and nothing like this ever happened. I don't know why it started now, just when we're trying to sell. It's freaking us out, and we don't want to deal with anything spooky. Please, just sell this place as fast as you can." Hearing this, my mind went straight to that couple and the boy. A cold fear started creeping up inside me, but I didn't want to scare the owners more. So I made up some nonsense about how I'd seen cases where sellers get anxious and imagine things. "Maybe it's just stress," I said, trying to sound reassuring. "Could be a trick of the mind. Try to relax, and I'm sure it'll be fine." I suggested they move to their countryside place early if they were still uneasy, promising their company would look after the house during the sale. They agreed, admitting the noises were keeping them up at night, and for folks their age, losing sleep was no joke. So they packed up and left for the countryside, leaving the house in our hands. A month later, with everyone at the office pitching in, we sold the place. During that time, though, some colleagues started grumbling. A few said they saw weird stuff in the house, and others mentioned clients who refused to even step inside, like they could send something off. They'd ask me, "Did the owners hide something about this place?" I didn't dare tell them about the boy. I just brushed it off, saying, "The owners are normal folks, nothing to worry about. The house is fine," but deep down, I wasn't so sure. There were times when I was about to open the door for a showing and heard footsteps pacing in the hallway inside. I never said a word about it, just kept it to myself. I don't know how the new owners are doing now, but that first couple and that boy they brought with them, I got a bad feeling he's still hanging around in that house. It was late summer 2022, and I was 24, living in this small town just outside Colorado Springs, working as a barista and trying to save up for grad school. I'm not some tough guy, just your average dude who likes to walk home after work to clear my head. It was a Friday around 11 p.m., and I just finished a closing shift at the coffee shop. I live about a mile away, in this quiet neighborhood with big trees and not much traffic. The route's simple, cut through a couple back streets, past some empty lots, and you're home. I'd walked it 100 times, no problem, even late at night. This time, though, I'm strolling along, earbuds in, listening to some lo-fi beats, when I see something weird up ahead on the road. It's dark, just a few streetlights, but there's a shape lying in the middle of the street, right where it curves past an old vacant lot. I pull out my earbuds, squinting, trying to make it out. It looks like a person sprawled out, not moving. My first thought is, holy crap, someone's hurt, maybe hit by a car or something. The street's dead quiet. No cars, no people, just this body. I'm not gonna lie, my heart's pounding, but I'm thinking I gotta check if they're okay. I grab my phone, ready to call 911, and start walking closer slow, because something about it feels off, like it's too still, you know. I'm maybe 20 feet away when I get a better look. It's a guy face down, wearing a dark jacket and jeans, arms splayed out like he just dropped. There's no blood, no car nearby, nothing to explain it. I call out, "Hey, you alright? You need help." No response. I take a few more steps, my phone's flashlight on now, shining on him. I'm thinking maybe he's drunk or passed out, but my gut's screaming at me to stay back. I stop about 10 feet away and yell again, "Yo, can you hear me?" Then it happens. The guy moves, like not slow, not groggy, but fast, like a damn jack-in-the-box. He springs up, not even using his hands, just straight to his feet, and he's coming at me. I see his face, or I don't, 'cause he's got this bandana pulled up over his nose, just eyes glaring out. And he's holding something, a pipe or a bat. I can't tell, but it's raised, and he's charging right at me. I stumble back, yelling, "What the hell?" And that's when I hear it, more footsteps from behind me, like someone else is coming out of the shadows. I turn and see two other guys stepping out from the lot, both with bandanas, one with a knife glinting in the streetlight. My brain's screaming, this is a setup. I don't think, I just run full sprint, back the way I came, my shoes slapping the pavement, heart about to explode. I hear them behind me shouting, "Get him!" and their footsteps are loud, closing in. I'm not a runner, man, but I'm moving like my life depends on it, 'cause it does. I cut through a side street, dodging trash cans, praying I don't trip. I'm thinking, I gotta get to people, lights, anything. There's a gas station a few blocks away, always open late, so I aim for that, weaving through alleys to lose them. My phone's still in my hand, and I'm trying to dial 911 while running, but I can't stop shaking. I finally get through, gasping to the operator. I'm being chased. 3 guys, they try to jump me. I'm near 5th and Maple. She's telling me to keep moving, find somewhere safe, cops are on the way. I make it to the gas station, bursting through the door, and the clerk, a big dude named Tony who knows me from late night coffee runs, sees me and jumps up. "Yo, what's wrong?" I'm panting, telling him about the guys, the body that wasn't dead, and he grabs his phone, ready to back me up. I look out the window, but no one's there, just the empty street, neon lights buzzing. The cops show up maybe 5 minutes later, and I spill the whole story, still shaking like crazy. They patrol the area, but the guys are gone, like they vanished into thin air. Here's the kicker, the cops know exactly what I'm talking about. They tell me it's a known scam around here, some local gang pulling this fake body trick to lure people in for robberies. They've had reports all summer. Someone plays dead, waits for a good Samaritan, then their buddies jump you, take your wallet, phone, whatever. Sometimes it gets violent, like real bad. They check the spot where it happened, find some scuff marks and a cigarette, but no real evidence. They take my statement, say they'll keep an eye out, but I can't tell they're not holding their breath. I walked home with a cop escort that night, and I haven't taken that route since. I got a car a month later, even though I could barely afford it, because I'm done walking alone at night. I keep thinking about that guy on the ground, how real he looked, how fast he moved. What if I'd gotten closer? Would they have just robbed me, or was that pipe meant for my head? I looked up news reports later, and yeah, there were stories about similar attacks in Colorado Springs that year. Same-o, no arrests. People on a local Reddit thread were talking about it too, saying to never stop for bodies at night. Back in 2019, I was 34, a single mom living in Anaheim, California, raising my daughter Sophie, who was 6 at the time. She's my whole world, this bright, bubbly kid who loves animals and anything sparkly. We've been saving up for a special day at Disneyland, just the 2 of us, because she was obsessed with princesses and all that. It was supposed to be this perfect memory, but it turned into a nightmare I can't shake. What happened that day changed how I see crowds, strangers, everything. It was a sunny Saturday in July, peak summer, so the park was packed. Families, tourists, kids running everywhere. Sophie's bouncing with excitement, wearing her little Elsa dress, holding my hand as we weave through the crowds. We just got an ice cream, and we're heading to the Dumbo ride, her favorite. The line's long, like 30 minutes, snaking around those metal dividers under these big shade tents. I'm chatting with Sophie about which ride we'll do next, keeping her close, because she's small and the place is a zoo. We're maybe halfway through the line when I notice this guy a few people behind us. He's tall, kinda lanky, wearing this bright blue t-shirt with Mickey Mouse plastered across the front, like something a kid would pick out. He's got sunglasses and a baseball cap, but what catches my eye is how he's acting. He's not with anyone, no kids, no family, just standing there, watching the kids in line a little too close. I don't think much of it at first. Lots of people come to Disneyland alone, but something about him makes my mom radar ping. Sophie's tugging my hand, asking for a water bottle, so I kneel down to dig through my backpack. I'm distracted for maybe 10 seconds, and when I stand up, Sophie's a few steps ahead, closer to the people in front of us, pointing at some balloons. I grab her hand quick, pull her back, and that's when I hear this voice behind me. "Hey, little princess, you dropped your crown." It's the Mickey shirt guy, smiling big, holding up one of those cheap plastic tiaras you get at the gift shop. Sophie's wearing her Elsa crown, still on her head, so I know it's not hers. I say, "Thanks, but that's not ours," and pull Sophie closer. He steps forward, still smiling, and says, "Oh, I saw it fall, thought it was hers. She's so cute in that dress." His voice is all cheery, but his eyes, they're too intense, like he's studying us. I force a smile, say, "We're good, thanks," and turn away, hoping he'll back off. But he doesn't. He moves closer in line, cutting past a couple people, and starts talking to Sophie, not me. "You like Elsa? Want to meet her?" I know where she's at right now. Sophie's shy, just nods, but I'm getting that sick feeling in my gut. I step in front of her, blocking his view, and say, "We're fine, man. Leave us alone." He laughs, like I'm joking, but doesn't move back. The line's moving slow, and I'm stuck, can't just walk away without losing our spot, and Sophie's starting to pick up on my nerves, clinging to my leg. I'm scanning for a cast member, but the nearest one's way up at the right entrance. Then it happens. The line shifts. Everyone's distracted, and I feel Sophie's hand slip out of mine. I spin around, and this guy's got her wrist, tugging her gently, saying, "Come on, let's go find Elsa." Sophie's frozen, eyes wide, and I lose it. I grab her other arm, yank her back, and scream, "Get your hands off my kid." Loud, like everyone in the line turns to look. He lets go quick, hands up like he's innocent, muttering, "Whoa, just trying to help." But his face changes, less friendly, more pissed. I scoop Sophie up, heart pounding so hard I can barely think, and push through the line toward the front, yelling for a cast member. People are staring, some asking if I'm okay. And I'm just saying, "That guy tried to take my daughter." A cast member, a young woman with a radio, rushes over, and I point at the guy who's already backing away, weaving through the crowd toward an exit path. I'm shaking, holding Sophie tight, telling the cast member what happened. She calls security, and they're there in like 2 minutes, but the guy's gone, melted into the sea of people. Security takes us to a quiet office near the park entrance, and I'm a wreck, crying as I tell them everything. The Mickey shirt, the tiara, how he grabbed Sophie. Sophie's okay, just scared, clinging to me, asking why the man was so weird. The security team's awesome. They get us water, a stuffed Minnie Mouse for Sophie, and take my statement. They pull up park cameras and spot the guy on footage, circling the Dumbo area for like an hour, always near kids, always alone. They tell me they've had reports of creeps like this before, using cartoon shirts to seem safe around kids. Makes me sick just thinking about it. Cops get involved, and they ID the guy from the footage a few days later. Turns out he's got a record, attempted abductions, loitering around schools, the kind of stuff that makes your skin crawl. He wasn't caught that day, but they nabbed him a month later at another park trying the same stunt. I had to look at a lineup photo to confirm it was him, and seeing his face again, even in a picture, made me want to throw up. Sophie's okay now, but she doesn't want to go back to Disneyland, and I don't blame her. This was back in 2021 summer, in our house in Provo, Utah. I'm 36, married to my wife, Jenna, and we got 2 kids, Ellie, who's 12, and Max, who's 8. We've been in this house for like 5 years, nice little 2-story in a quiet suburb. It started small. Jenna noticed at first these weird noises coming from the walls at night, like scratching or scooting, kind of like a mouse but louder. We figured it was just critters, Houses in Utah get squirrels or whatever sometimes. It was coming from the upstairs, near the kids' rooms and the bathroom. I checked the attic, set out some traps, but didn't find nothing. No droppings, no chewed wires, nada. The noises kept up, though, mostly late at night, like 2 or 3 a.m., and it was starting to creep us out. Then other stuff started happening. Food went missing from the kitchen. Little things like a bag of chips, half a loaf of bread, a couple sodas from the fridge. At first, I thought it was the kids sneaking snacks, but Ellie and Max swore it wasn't them. Jenna's like, maybe we got a raccoon getting in somehow. But I'm thinking, what kind of raccoon takes Diet Coke and seals the fridge back up? It didn't add up. The noises were getting worse too. Not just scratching, but like thumps, like someone shifting around up there. Jenna started getting real paranoid, especially because she was home alone a lot during the day, working remotely as a graphic designer. She said she felt watched sometimes, like when she was in the bathroom showering. I thought she was just stressed, but I got her one of those Ring cameras for the front door to make her feel better. The noises kept going, though, and one night, Ellie comes running into our room, says she heard something in the vent above her bed, like breathing. That's when I'm like, okay, this ain't no animal. I grab a flashlight and a crowbar from the garage, tell Jenna to keep the kids in our room, and start checking the house. I'm no handyman, but I know our vents run through the walls and ceiling, connecting to the HVAC system in the crawl space. I go up to the attic, heart pounding, expecting to find a raccoon or maybe a homeless guy squatting up there. The attic's empty, but I notice the vent cover near the bathroom duct is loose, like it's been pried off and put back wrong. I shine my light in there, and it's tight but big enough for a person to crawl through if they're skinny. I'm freaking out now, 'cause this is bad. I call a HVAC guy the next morning, tell him we got weird noises. He comes out that afternoon. He's poking around in the crawl space under the house, where the main vent system connects, and he goes real quiet. He calls me down, and I'm not ready for what he shows me. There's a freaking nest in there, blankets, food wrappers, empty soda cans, even a couple of Jenna's missing hair ties. And worst of all, a cheap burner phone, one of those flip ones, sitting on a pile of dirty clothes. I'm shaking, telling the guy to call the cops, and he's like, there's more. He points to a corner of the crawl space, where there's a small hole cut into the duct leading to the bathroom. It's angled just right to see into the shower. My stomach turns, thinking about Jenna feeling watched. The cops show up, 2 officers, and they're treating it serious now. They search the vents, find a guy's shoe print in the dust, and bag the phone and wrappers for evidence. They tell us whoever was in there was living in our vents, probably for weeks. They pull the phone's data later, and that's when it gets sickening. There's pictures, grainy but clear enough, of Jenna in the shower, taken through that hole in the vent. Dozens of them, timestamp going back 2 weeks. I'm furious, Jenna's crying, and the kids are terrified, asking if the wall monster is coming back. The cops figure the guy was sneaking in through an exterior vent cover that was loose in the backyard, crawling through the ducts to steal food at night. They find fingerprints on the phone, match them to a guy with a record, petty theft, trespassing, and some stalking charges. They say he's done this before, hiding in houses, but this is next level creepy. The cops stake out our place for a few nights, but the guy doesn't come back. They catch him a week later, living in a motel 20 miles away. Skinny dude, mid-30s, no fixed address, had a bag of stolen stuff from other houses, including women's clothes. He confesses to living in our vents for 2 weeks, says he picked our house because it was quiet and he could get in easy. Makes me sick thinking he was there, watching us while we slept